Hello. This video today is hopefully going to be pretty short. It's I'm going to go to Yellowstone. That's the next place I believe that the treasure is. My plan is to search the entire United States Rockies region. My plan is to search every square inch of the Rockies. I believe in that way I'm assured of finding the treasure. Every square inch. It's going to take me years, and I don't, none of us are immortal, so I gotta really get started going out there. But I think now, I've been to Denver, and I've been to Moffett County, and I've been to Echo Park and the Dinosaur Monument, and now I'm going to go to Yellowstone. And I told in one of my videos why I'm going to go to Yellowstone. You're all familiar with the fact that I do this. This is just much easier for me to read. Okay. I have two main topics today. The first one is, by the way, don't let the puffin bother you or scare you. They appear a lot closer than they are in real life. And they're pretty harmless. Now this guy below me that you can't see, this big old bobcat looking guy named Tober, who's at my feet, he could do some damage, can't you, buddy? You are just ridiculous. He just follows me around all day long. All day long. It's amazing. So anyway, I have two. The main thing since I'm going to Yellowstone is, recently I put out I didn't put out a plea. I was just speaking for myself. I was trying to figure out what to do when I find the treasure. So I went and I searched, what you're supposed to do. And I have found a number of things that really put me at ease as to what I'm going to do. Especially about the legalities of what we're doing. As far as I'm concerned, at this point, there are no problems legally, just like Fenn has said. So many things that Fenn has said, in my opinion, are true. He said there shouldn't be a legal problem. He said he had a lot of lawyers look at it, or a few really well-paid lawyers, and they looked at it, and I agree. When I went out to Dinosaur Monument, I did a very simple thing. Like a lot of people would, I looked at the park rules, and I discussed this in my video. I look at the Dinosaur National Monument rules for people that go there. The rules are very simple. You cannot basically disturb the land. They don't use that phrase, but I'm using it. You can't take things that are indigenous to the park, like stones. If you use firewood, you have to get a permit to use firewood. They, of course, want to keep the parks pristine. So you aren't supposed to take things from the park. You aren't supposed to take rocks. You aren't supposed to take plant life. You aren't supposed to take even an arrowhead. That's considered part of the park because of its antiquity. And you cannot bury things in the park, and you cannot retrieve buried things from the park. If someone leaves something, and this is what I noticed, all of that were in the rules when I went to Dinosaur. The thing that was missing was any mention of what to do if you find something that's not from the park on top of the ground. I mean, you could think of it in just simply trash, for instance. What if you came across some trash and you want to pick up? I don't think the park has any problem with that. But you cannot take things indigenous to the park. I think I've made my point. So when I went to Dinosaur National Monument, I thought I was kind of in some special place. And that made it even more, to me, made it even more special that maybe Fenn had something to do. Maybe it was the Fenn spot, because I thought, boy, he has found a place where, as long as you don't bury it, and as long as then you really don't have a problem. Well, turns out that's the same thing with Yellowstone. Turns out, according to people's comments I've seen, that's the truth with all the parks. So these are some comments, and we have some very smart and very learned people I'll skip ahead to one guy who said something in my legal ponderings. Don't sweat it. My dad was an IRS agent for 26 years. He and I talked about it over and over, and he assured me that there is no problem because it will be a gift. Fenn wants you to bring the chest to him when you get done, and I guess he gives you does the sword on both shoulders or something, and he knights you the owner of the chest or something. But anyway, it is technically, this guy said, his father, the IRS agent, said, I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but I was looking for it earlier, I couldn't find the comments. But he said this father was very adamant that it would be considered a gift by Forrest Fenn to the person. There would be a tax on the gift, and that Forrest Fenn would be obligated to pay the tax, and probably would, I assume. Well, he'd have to. He made it sound like it was Forrest Fenn's problem, so I'm sure if that is true, that Forrest Fenn is able and willing to do that. So that's one thing. It could just simply be a gift, and you don't have to worry about it. But as far as getting it out of the park goes and all that, these were some comments, and I put the ones that I thought were the most sensible and believable. Someone says, what about it being a national park? One of the legal distinctions, I'm not going to bother going into names. This was T.R. Dollar a year ago. One of the main legal distinctions hinges on whether the chest is buried. This goes back exactly to what I saw in Dinosaur Monument. Fenn says it is not. He has hinted it is not. On BLM land in New Mexico, as long as it's not buried, if somebody found the chest, they would be permitted to take it, says a BLM representative in Santa Fe. So we know at least in New Mexico it's totally legal if it's found on top of the land. Again, though, arrowheads, pottery, things like that are not finders keepers. It's a unique situation because Fenn's treasure, according to this representative of public land for the government, Fenn's treasure is not an artifact. As long as there's no degradation of the land involved, it's fair game. Treasure hunting is not illegal in Yellowstone, where I'm going, but there's a whole host of regulations that govern the preservation and use of national parks, says Tim Reed, a chief ranger at Yellowstone. In Yellowstone, I realize for some of you, none of this is news who have studied it. In Yellowstone, metal detectors are illegal, digging is illegal, and you can't remove any natural or cultural feature from the park. If somebody were to find the Fenn treasure within the boundaries of Yellowstone or any national park, it would be considered abandoned property. It's not finders keepers. You would have to turn it in and go through a governmental procedure to lay claim to it. Another guy who deleted his name later said, well, I think he responded to this because he was also a year ago. He said, hey guys, saw the conversation about the National Park Service. And so happens my father is a superintendent in the National Park Service. Isn't this wonderful that all these people are that we have everyone in this huge network? I'm amazed at what's going on with the politics around the world. You see things like over in England and Germany where the immigration's a big deal, and you see these huge divisions occurring within the country. I mean, the immigration of Muslims is a big deal, and you're starting to see these huge divisions in the countries, and the people are just talking around the politicians. They have these vlog sites and blogs, and they're just talking, and they're doing their thing. I'm not taking one side or the other. I'm just saying, though, our future is incredible to watch in this world. The internet always had the potential, but now with the social media, it is just becoming so obvious that the people around the world are just going to start controlling their own future through social media. I truly believe this. mean, obviously, you have to have the people in there to do the actual work, like be a representative or a congressman or stuff. But I mean, I've left comments on one of my senators' YouTube page, and I actually need to go check on that. I only did it recently, but I mean, you know, he YouTubes his appearances places, and people comment, say if they like it or don't. It's direct. No more of this having to write snail mail to your... I mean, I'm getting way off course, but really it's amazing. And the same thing is happening now with this treasure hunt. You know, all these people come in with all their sources and their knowledge. And like I said, the guy whose father was an IRS agent, and this guy, he says... So happens my father still is a superintendent in the National Park Service, so I contacted him to double check on what we have just discussed about being able to find a ticket. The finder would in fact have to turn over the treasure to the park superintendent. Now this we've discussed before. Forrest Fenn has also said that, you know, Forrest, he's kind of like winking. It's kind of like, well, you're supposed to turn it over to the park superintendent. And I was always real scared of doing that if I found it. But if I did find it, I think a lot of us are kind of scared that, you know, to turn it over to the Park Service, because you just get this weird feeling that you found it, it's yours, and suddenly it's going to be in someone else's office. It's going to be locked in a cabinet. It's going to be, you know, like something. And suddenly you're going, could I take that with me? No, there are a couple of things we got to check first. Well, according to this guy, whose father is a park superintendent, the thing that the park superintendent would check is, in fact, Forrest Fenn, and he would confirm the swap of the title. Now, that's new to me. Now, this has been on the web for a year, so some people could be saying, I'm behind the times. Doesn't matter. I'm still throwing it out there. For me, it was news, so maybe for other people, it's news. Another guy chimes in and says the finder would have to turn over the treasure to the park superintendent until the superintendent contacts the original owner, Fenn. He agrees with the other guy. Something about this doesn't, and this is the guy I agree with, something about this doesn't sit well with me. If the treasure is legally mine when I find it, why do I need to get the blessing of a park superintendent? I agree. Why does the superintendent need to confirm the ownership rights when it is not in question or being challenged to begin with? I think he is only needed when the legal ownership is in question. I don't know. Hypothetically, if I were to find it in Yellowstone and take it home, bypassing the park superintendent confirmation process, assuming that I have all the documentation to show it's legally mine, what legal issue could I possibly face? I am guessing none. I'm going along with that because this is what I would do. Forrest Fenn says take the treasure, take it home, and keep it for a month in a safety deposit box or someplace where it can be absolutely secured. I'm not sure really what the thinking is behind that. Does he ever elaborate on that or just kind of leave it? I mean, okay, so a month goes by, then what do you do? Maybe he assumes you would contact him, and so he would say, "Come on down here, and I'll give you the title or something, but have it in a safe spot." Maybe that's what his thinking is, and that makes perfect sense to me. I literally, if I ever am able to find this treasure, I literally am going to drive it down to Santa Fe and call ahead, obviously, and obviously he would have to agree to see me, and then I'm just going to, have it in the trunk or say, "Well, there it is," and then I get the title and then I drive home. Unless I do something really stupid like tell someone I found it, I don't assume anyone's going to be following me. You know what I've thought for a while? Isn't this an incredible idea for some sort of a mystery? I mean, all of the plots, all of the storylines you could come up with on this buried treasure thing. I mean, you could find the treasure and then people are out to get you, maybe harm you to get the treasure. There could be all these... Longmire, I don't know who's ever seen Longmire, but Longmire's a show I was watching. I enjoyed it up until it got kind of far out. It got to the point where Longmire was doing that Indian thing, where they put the hooks in their chest and they you know, they lean back and the ropes pull the hooks out of their chest and they prove their manhood or something. I mean, this guy's like 55 or something. He's doing this one. It's modern times, you know, and he's doing this because of some issue that's bogging him down. It's like, get the hell out of here. This is stupid. What do you know, get the hooks out of your chest, dude. Come on. Let's get real. Let's get back to work. Have a cup of coffee. Get real. Longmire's out there. Can hear the, you know, they're chiming in, hey, yeah, hey, nah, hey, hey, and then Longmire's like, oh, I can do it. And you're like, what are you doing? You're a grown man. You're a sheriff. Admittedly, you're a reformed alcoholic, so you probably got some mental issues just like I do, but you're out there, you know, with the hooks in your chest? Stupid. Bad Longmire. Bad Longmire. That's when I quit watching Longmire. I was on it all the way up until that point. I watched every episode. It's a really good show. But when it gets to Longmire putting hooks in his chest, I said, they're running out of storylines. Okay, so I agree with this guy. I am never going to go to this park superintendent if I find it in a park because it's none of his business. And if he doesn't know, what the hell does it matter, right?